Hi guys, I'm Madeline Harvey. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to talk vocal care. What can you do if you're sick, if your voice is fatigued, or heaven forbid, your voice is injured or you're suspecting that your voice might be injured? What are some ways that you can help restore your voice back to its natural state of health? We're going to cover that today, but I also want to say that the advice given in today's video is not intended to be medical advice. So if you are suspecting that you may be injured or have been diagnosed as having a vocal injury, then I recommend that you follow the specific diagnostic advice from your healthcare professional, okay? So the clip that you're about to see was taken from a live voice lesson that was shot earlier today. It's about an hour in length, the entire live. So if you want to follow along with the entire live voice lesson and participate in some of the exercises, then I invite you to click that join button below and become a member of this channel. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to all of our live voice lessons that we do every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So again, click that join button below and become a member of this channel. It's only $4.99 a month. And your contribution helps to support our channel. That way we can continue to deliver awesome content for you. You ready to get started? Here we go. Hi, everyone. It is so good to see you all. I hope you had a very restful weekend and are enjoying the start to your week so far. As always, I love to talk about the voice and I love to explore the voice and I love to do it with you guys. So just about yesterday, I was lamenting on what I was going to talk about today. I was really giving it a lot of thought when my wonderful husband said, "Well, you've been really sick. Why don't you talk about that?" And I went, does anybody want to hear about that? And he just looked at me stone-faced and went, yeah. Because we all get sick. We all get tired. And hopefully, only very, very, very few of us will actually ever be vocally injured. So it is helpful to learn how to care for your voice when you are sick, when your voice is tired, and therapeutically to restore your voice back to its health when you're injured. Hopefully that never happens. But by the end of today's video, it is my sincere hope that you'll be able to identify some of the markers that are key markers to, at the very least, a fatigued voice. That way you can catch it in its early subtle stages and keep your voice in tip-top shape. So I just want to say, if we have any new members on today's live, that I'm so happy that you're here. This is made for you with love. We meet every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you want to learn a little bit more about your voice, go a little bit deeper with your voice, we do have some modules available on Skillshare and so many more coming, so many exciting modules to come. So let's jump into this. All right, so have any of you guys ever gotten sick and it's affected your voice? Have you ever experienced laryngitis? Yeah, surprisingly. I've had laryngitis a whole 3 times in my life, and it was all because of like a flu virus. And it came on suddenly. Very, 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 very suddenly. And that is quite typical with the way that laryngitis works. It will inflame the entire inside of the voice box, pretty much making you mute. Your cords cannot connect at all. Everything's really swollen on the inside. Now, if that is the case, you can't speak. And if you try to speak, it just comes out like that. So the best thing that you can do is actually be quiet. Now there's a gift to that. There's like a spiritual gift to that. It's like, I'm going to be silent. So I'm going to contemplate my thoughts, or I'm going to listen better, or whatever the case may be. But if you've got laryngitis, that is the best remedy for you. Just be as silent as you possibly can. Don't even try to speak. Don't even try to speak. Now, ironic, I had laryngitis for about a week. It was very persistent, and so funny that my precious husband just felt the need to sort of ask me 1,000 questions while I had laryngitis. I just think it was because he wasn't accustomed to that kind of silence. So he was like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you want for dinner? What's your favorite color? Hey, you want to watch a movie? What movie do you want to watch? He was just like filled with questions because he wanted to take really good care of me. He's amazing. He's amazing. But I was just literally like, I can't talk. So I would, like, we played charades for sure, for a solid week. It was a load of fun. Now, even if you've not gotten laryngitis and you've gotten sick, let's say this is what happened again after I recovered from laryngitis, is it just expressed completely different, same virus, but now it affected my chest, turning into bronchitis. Now, bronchitis is just because you cough all the live long day, you cough. And that just adds insult to more injury with the voice, slamming the cords together, perpetuating this sort of swollen feeling. Now, with bronchitis, it's like you almost can't help the coughing. So you want to be able to drink lots and lots and lots and lots of warm liquids. I know that seems a little lame because everyone does say that, but very few people actually drink a lot of fluids when they're sick. And very few singers actually drink an adequate amount of water. So let me share with you what an adequate amount of water is. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying my best to do this. So just to give a perspective for you, you exhale within an 8-hour period of time, meaning this is how much water is leaving your body just in the vapor of your exhale. In 8 hours, you exhale an entire liter of water in 8 hours. So if you drink a liter of water, you probably think you're doing really, really great, but you just replenished what your body is going to use just to exhale. So you're going to need more water than that. The optimum amount of water is about 1 gallon a day. That's crazy, right? That's a lot of water. But if you're speaking a lot, or if you're a professional singer, you're going to need that much hydration, that much lubrication for your voice. So if you are sick, you definitely need to replenish those liquids. You have to keep your body in as much hydration as you possibly can, as you possibly can. So that's lots of trips to the bathroom. I know. But just give it a try for about a week and just notice how much better your voice feels when you're speaking and when you're singing. So we've talked a little bit about sickness and laryngitis and bronchitis because that's currently what I'm experiencing. I'm at the very tail end of it. And there's just an element of when you're sick, you just have to be patient with it. You have to be. You just have to be. That's why I said there's like a spiritual gift in there somewhere. I'm just going to sit and wait for myself to be restored to my natural state of health. But at the same time, I want to bring some ideas for how you can assess your voice, whether you're sick, your vocals are fatigued, or whether you think or you know that you have a vocal injury. Because there are ways that you can build your voice back. So I just want to take some time to talk about that right now. So not the sick part, because sometimes we cannot help that. Our body's been attacked by something and it just has to express it. We've got to be patient while the voice is doing that. The last thing you want to do if you think you've got any of these things is push your voice. So if you've got like a performance, for example, and you're sick, and maybe you can make some sound and you know that you can be relied on to do this, then I would say turn your microphone way up and sing sotto voce, which means half voice. Sing with half the voice. Now, if you know you can be relied on to do that, sometimes singers just get really excited and they unconsciously push to overcompensate. So I'd much rather maybe reschedule your performance or cancel your performance or give it to somebody else. But I know that that's not always the case, and we try to do the best that we can. But anyways, so let's say that's sickness, lots and lots and lots of fluids, lots of rest. Be silent if you must, be silent. Now let's talk about fatigue and vocal injury. So you've got to be able to assess your voice. Anytime we have fatigue, that is the precursor to vocal injury. So it's like your warning. It's wonderful that we get warnings like that. The reason why we get fatigued is because your body is letting you know that something is having to work harder than it needs to work. So I want you to err on the side of conservation for your voice, especially if there is like a habitual fatigue or a chronic fatigue. Then you really want to pay attention, because if it's chronic, you're standing at the doorstep of a vocal injury. Now, I want to put the appropriate amount of fear into you, but I don't want to scare you. But I just want to warn. If you're experiencing chronic fatigue, then you may have to go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor or an otolaryngologist to get properly diagnosed of what's basically going on. But I'm going to show you, we're going to break it down as to ways that we can help restore the voice to balance, because that's what we need. We need balance. Now let's pretend we've got two major forces with our voice. There's a little bit more than that, but there are two that we're always having to negotiate with. One is air pressure. We want a consistent amount of flow rate for our air so that it can support our voice. And the other is chord tension. Now, this is where we get this spectrum of we tend to be on one side or the other with respect to how the voice tries to bring it back into balance. It's very common that if a singer can feel that they're right in that slippery area of their voice, they may push their breath to overcompensate and push their voice through that slippery area. Let's say like the break or the passaggio. They amplify their airflow, which turns into an excessive amount of air pressure and will push the voice through that. Now that kind of turns into what feels like yelling. So if you've got to go louder as you go higher, you are overcompensating with your air pressure. That's good to know. If I can't control the same dynamic as I go higher, then I'm using my breath to push. Now, the other end of the spectrum is chord tension. Now, that one is maybe a little unknown to a lot of people. The air pressure is a lot more similar, but if you ever feel like it gets tighter as you go higher, or if your voice ever feels kind of stuck, stiff is a better, because it basically means that your chords can't move in the way that they need to. If your voice just feels very rigid and stiff and strainy, you may be overcompensating, over squeezing the voice. There's too much squeeze on the vocal cords. So our job, especially when we're talking about fatigue and vocal injury, is we have to eliminate the aggravating activity, right? So let's just go ahead and eliminate both. If we know that we have a tendency to go one or the other, let's see if we can aim right towards that middle. Do you have any idea of how we can eliminate both? Let's say if we have a tendency to get louder as we go higher, then it may say, okay, well then sing everything soft, right? Dynamically. That's a great way to make sure that your air pressure is in a nice flowing state. So that's the answer to that, soft. So what about chord tension? Well, if everything feels really heavy and stiff when we've got too much chord tension, then maybe the medicine there is to imagine that the sound is a little lighter. So we've got softer and lighter. Now, as soon as I say that to a lot of people, they immediately go, I don't wanna. And I know that there is a stigma with feeling okay to be soft with the voice. And I think we've got this psychological complex, perhaps, where we feel that we've got to project all this strength and all this power all the time. You know, if we're going to be a vocalist of value, right, we've got to sing higher and louder than everybody else, more chesty than the whole world. So we've got to pay attention to what our tendencies are if we want to take care of our voice, because we have to eliminate the aggravating activity. We have to eliminate the aggravating activity, okay? So every now and again, I just check in with myself. Is there any part of me that I feel so attached to? Yeah. I want to actually just feel powerful as a person. I want to feel like I am strong, capable, steady. Because it irritates me. It really irritates me when people are like, oh, bless her heart. She can't do that by herself. She needs help. It really irritates me. And imagine little, like, maybe 11 or 12-year-old Madeline trying to, like, do something ridiculous. Like, I don't know, like lift a car by myself. Because I have to prove myself. And that was the attitude, because I'm definitely the runt in my family. I don't know. I think I got the body of like my great grandmother, because she was also really small, very like small and small. Everyone in my family is like giant Amazonian, like linebacker women. They're very big women. So of course they were like, oh, Pathead, poor baby, can't do it all by herself. So of course I wanted that, I'll show you, had that attitude. And sometimes that carried into my singing. And I was so hard-headed about singing soft because I didn't want to appear weak. So now that I've done that reflection, hopefully I've outgrown that, it's okay for me to go soft and spend time with those parts of the voice. So we're talking about conservation of the voice, especially when we're fatigued. So let's go over some exercises that you can do. Now, make sure that if you've got any part of you that's going to be hard-headed too, and maybe feels like, I don't want to go soft, you've got to pay attention to that, because that's what your voice responds to. It's like our voice responds to our thoughts and our feelings. So if those feelings are informing your voice to push or to squeeze, you've got to address those at the psychological level as well. Like, all right, well, I'm going to take a step back, build up my balance, and then take a step forward. And I'm going to emerge even stronger, even more developed and flexible. So since we said that there were two, air pressure and core tension, let's work air pressure first. Now, I don't even know why I pulled out the piano. We'll get there eventually. But, all right, let's see. All true or false? Let's play this game. Almost all bad habits with the voice can be traced down to lack of airflow. True or false? Think about that for a second. If I have to push my air, does that mean I have a reliable, steady stream that can support my breath, especially in the middle notes? If I've got to push it, then no. If I've got to squeeze my chords, does that mean that I have a nice, consistent, steady stream of air where the chords can just connect evenly and easily and ride the air? If I've got to squeeze it, then no. So the answer to your question, the true or false, is true. So the best way to deal with this, especially if we're fatigued or if we have an injury, or if we're sick and we just want to continue the developmental work, is to do straw work. So we're going to do this. I'm going to move this back in. That's psych. I'm just playing with y'all. So we're going to do some straw work. I'm going to get my metronome going. If you've got a metronome, what we're at is at 76 beats per minute. That's a little on the slow side. We're going to go in for 8, out for 8. Now we want full power. Pull that air in. And that empowers the lower part of your lungs. that wakes them up, gets the expansion going in the lower part of the lungs. Then we want to full power push the air out. That keeps that diaphragm nice and committed. Meanwhile, you're keeping the consistent pressure in your lungs. Does all this make sense? So this is our start place. You're going to hear that okay? So we've got 2 minutes. Let me set my timer here. If you don't have a straw, your lips will do fine. Ready? So we're in for 8. Here we go. And rest. Yes, that already feels much, much better. Now, if you find that it's just sort of lackadaisical and easy for you, then keep your emphasis, full power inhale. Feel that widening right at that rib cage. Immediately. That's the benefit of creating that shape with the mouth and also pulling the air through the straw, is that the circumference of the straw creates a more concentrated amount of air. That's called resistance with the airflow. So it's really, really important that we keep tip top on our lung capacity, because we are discovering that all of the ways, all the many myriad of ways that the voice overcompensates, it's because it just doesn't have the right amount of support. Now, it could also overcompensate because there's an interior weakness on the cord level. That tends to be why we squeeze. But still, if the air is flowing easy peasy, easy does it, then you would be able to glide effortlessly through that space of pitch. Let's say maybe where your passaggio is. Singers tend to ignore those pitches anyways, or just jump over them. If you have a nice steady stream of air, then you can engage those pitches a little bit more directly, a little bit more evenly. It would give your cords an opportunity to get stronger. So it seems like everything kind of comes down to, if there's one thing we could all work on, it's consistent lung capacity, straw work consistently. I would always recommend that that's how you begin your vocal work. So now let's address. If we've got soft and light, that's our medicine for being able to restore the voice to balance, especially if we're fatigued or we're injured. If we're sick and we just have to rest, we'll rest. And that'll just be what it bees, right? But once we're not sick anymore, we want to come back into voice, this is how we would do it. So now, here we go. Here is our is our piano. So I'm going to give you a couple of articulators to work with. Now, the reason I want you to work with your articulators is because, again, I want steady. Listen to me being all bossy. I want you to have steady stream of air going to your articulators, your lips, your teeth, your tongue, the tip of the tongue, your nose, right here. I want the aim to be right here. So a nice, consistent, soft sound would just be